Aquaman issue 2, Jeremy Adams writing with John Timms on the R. So issue 1 of this ended with the big reveal that Atlantis had disappeared and then Aquaman disappeared through some sort of portal seemingly centered around an Omega symbol, i.e. possibly relating to Darkseid or even the Absolute Universe or something. Now, I think it's a bit murkier after this issue exactly what's going on here, because it doesn't seem like we've went to the Absolute Universe, certainly.
Mm-mm.
And it also, the possibility that this Omega symbol was there long before anything to do with the Absolute Universe existed seems to be the case, because it feels like, I don't know, I don't even know where to theorize with this really, but effectively this is a story where Aquaman wakes up having gone through this portal, and he's in some barren land, which very quickly he's able to figure out, oh, this used to be the bottom of an ocean wherever I'm standing. This used to be whatever this Earth or this world, this planet's water was. But and he acknowledges, hey, that symbol that I just went through is kind of important, but I can't really dwell on that right now. I'll think about that later. So this doesn't... I think in the end of issue 1, I thought it was instantly going to start to feel like a tie-in to the larger Absolute storyline, but I don't think it does. Not yet, anyway. It feels like it's, okay, that's there, but we're putting that to the side because he has to deal with these various monsters that are attacking him. And they basically refer to Aquaman as water because he has water in him. And what we discover over the course of this issue, after he fights them with controlling the mud, because the mud has water in it, because he's got the aquakinesis powers now, or sorry, hydrokinesis is the correct word, even though it's all made up anyway, but it doesn't really matter. Is that basically there's a villain here who I really thought it was going to be like a Poison Ivy-esque villain because of all the greenery in the lair.
But you're not far off, but keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, Jenny Greenteeth is the villain here, and it turns out that she has sucked this world dry of water to keep growing everything that she wants to grow, and she basically has her henchmen like find her like people and creatures to just suck the water out of, because, you know, as you often hear, we're like 70% water or whatever the number is. So that's what they've been doing. She wraps Aquaman up in her veins and tries to suck the water out of him, but because he's still got his powers, he's able to, like, you know, resist. She sort of puts him down into this sort of root-like area where there's a big bloodbath, and he uses the blood to help him get out. And he also runs into another character, and this is where I'm talking about how it feels like this portal to this other world is maybe really old, because the character he runs into is one of the older rulers of Atlantis. It's Arion,
Arion.
Arion, yeah, there you go. So he's
descended from, right? Because Arion is the first king of Atlantis.
So yeah, so he like helps him, but yeah, he's been here for a long time. He's got a big ginger beard. But yeah, Aquaman can feel the blood because there's water in blood, and he uses that to help them get out of the veins. And yeah, old Jenny Greenteeth's not very happy about this and starts yelling, and and Aquaman comes up with a tidal wave of blood, on his side to try and help fight her.
And he yells, "Jenny Greenteeth, it's time to die!" And you're like, "Oh my god, Aquaman's got off the deep end."
Oh, he's pissed. Intended. Yeah, he's pissed. He wants to find where's Atlantis, and we don't even know if Atlantis came here. He might have went somewhere different than Atlantis for all we know.
So he says when he goes through the Omega Gate, he says it looks like the Omega symbol or something like it. So maybe that was always just a red herring. Maybe it's just this gate that happens to resemble the Omega, and this is something else. Because we'll get to there.
I don't know, because the end of the issue is that when Aquaman defeats Jenny Greenteeth and basically takes away the infection of, because is this still technically Jenny Greenteeth when he rips out that away from her? Because there's like a real woman who's been possessed in there.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to, because they call him the new god, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to, where I do think it's related to Darkseid, at least in some way, because they use that word. They say, "You're the new god."
Yeah, so I'm wondering if this has to do with, like, because, right, Darkseid and High Father and all that stuff that we tend to go with the new gods, that's the fourth world.
Yes.
I'm wondering if this has more to do with, like, the third world, right? and that kind of vibe, because we'd seen the first world with I always forget the name, but it's everything that Philip Kennedy Johnson has done in action and in War Journal and
Elgrin and all that.
Olgren, right? And he was the first god, right? I'm wondering if this is kind of playing with that, because there's a lot of elements that are familiar. Like you have these Grindy Lows and Jenny Greenteeth, and they all seem very reminiscent of like Granny Goodness and the Furies and this type of stuff. So I'm wondering if that's the kind of thing that we're playing with, the thematic elements.
You think this is
make
like
up the new gods?
This is a bygone thing from the second world or third world or first world, one of them.
Something along those lines, and that's why the Omega symbol is whatever was associated with Darkseid.
But this Omega symbol predates Darkseid.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I can see it going that path. This is definitely a weird story for like the first arc of a new Aquaman book.
Oh, for sure. That said, Jenny Greenteeth is a folklore character across the world. She's in a bunch of different cultures, mostly in England. That's like a bog witch or a swamp witch that is essentially to keep kids from drowning. It's like, don't go over there. That's where Jenny Greenteeth is. And it's like a boogeyman figure. So when we see him pull this darkness out of that lady, it seems like this is a type of dark spirit, right? That has taken over this world.
Because Arian seems to know her, and it's like, oh, you're free now, lady. Like, he seems to know who this is. So maybe we'll get more context for who this woman is that was possessed by Greenteeth next issue. Very, very strange art. I mean, I'm not enjoying it. Like, I think the art's really cool, and Aquaman using like his water powers on both the mud and then the blood later on did make for some fun visuals. But it's definitely like a weird pivot, and it feels like we're doing like, we've got Aquaman as a character here, but we're doing a lot of other things relative to what's going on. So yeah, it seems like he's going to end up help rebuilding this world, or maybe we'll have some refugees coming back to Atlantis with us when the time comes. But curious,
right? So when he created that blood tidal wave, Arion says that it's the dark tide, right? Right, that's what he calls it. The dark tide crashed upon the enemies. So, and that Arthur here has fulfilled a prophecy of this world.
Yes,
right. And so that's why they call him the new god. So yeah, they're definitely playing with a lot of fantasy aspects that I was not guessing, from that first issue. Like we had Aquaman versus Kaiju, and now we have Aquaman versus boogeymen and stuff. So I'm very, very curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. It's not like grabbing me in the same way that his Green Lantern is, just purely because I have no idea where the concepts are going yet, and I'm not like Green Lantern's got such a solid footing in terms of like, okay, this is the cast, the supporting cast, and all that. But this is taking Aquaman and just throwing him into like a new place with new characters, and like a lot of that like kind of structure around him is kind of missing right now, which I don't hate necessarily, just because I've not really seen that done with Aquaman that much. I feel like it happens too often with Batman and Superman, so I get really sick of it. Here, I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. So I don't know, we'll see. But I wouldn't say I love the story yet. I'm definitely I'm open and optimistic, but I'm still kind of waiting to see what the hook is of this story for me.
Yeah. Well, you know how I am. Anytime you start wrapping up comic book with folklore stuff, I'm there. So once I saw Jenny Greenteeth, I was like, oh, this rings a bell, right? And when you said it's like a Poison Ivy figure, and when you start reading up about Jenny Greenteeth, that's kind of what she represents. It's like this fear of the natural world. Like, don't stray too far from civilization.
Just to mention though, Aquaman does mention in his dialogue or narration that all of this like plant life that she's controlling is all underwater plant life usually.
Right.
He mentions that, so it's all like seaweed and other stuff. I mean, obviously in the comic art, it just looks like a bunch of bushes and stuff to me. But
But it's all things that's also creating water, right? So it's almost that's how she's using it to control. And but again, I'm very excited to see where this goes, because again, not getting involved with New Gods like I thought. And like we're doing like folklore, and it seems like we're gonna play with some other, because if Arion was a sorcerer from Atlantis, I feel like we'll be doing like mythological kind of stuff. And then when you see the blurb for the next time, it says like pirates, mermaids, and what's the last one?
The Lady of the
Pirates, and the Lady of the Lake, right? And we're getting to Arthurian legend right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Which
So
doesn't
count me very much in.
Yeah, that doesn't thrill me, to be honest. That is actively making me go, oh, I'll look forward to the second arc. I'll get through this one, and I'll be excited for what arc 2 is going to be.
That's where I was like, this is where I look forward to Connor, you know, because he gets down with this stuff like I do.
It's definitely not conceptually something that excites me all that much, but I'll see what he does with it. I mean, I didn't think it was a hard or tough read, certainly. It was still enjoyable enough to get through, even if it's not hitting exactly my sweet spots. So, all right, what are you giving Aquaman?
I'm gonna give this I'll give it an 8. I quite liked it.
It's a 7 for me. That's good, but you know, it's not, you know, scratching my itches specifically.